Okay, for stations that just joined us, coming up, we've discovered a secret FEMA document confirmed to be real. They've been telling major newspapers to remove it, like the Christian Science Monitor and others, and publicintelligence.com. And you've got Obama saying we're going to be nuked. The FBI director saying domestic groups are the #1 threat now, or as bad as Al-Qaeda. You've got this crescendo of the media saying the Tea Parties aren't just racist, which they've been caught with Democratic operatives dressed up like Nazis, red-handed now, something we broke 3 weeks ago that's now become mainstream news. But Bill Clinton's saying, gee, he hopes there doesn't have to be a terror attack to make the Tea Party shut up. Well, who stands to gain from that terror attack? See, he's saying this will discredit you. And he's saying this on Wolf Blitzer. Oklahoma City, 15 years ago today, was a staged event. We go over the evidence in Road to Tyranny. Ladies and gentlemen, the American people are standing up against the criminality in Washington. And the oldest trick in the book is to stage events. We see all this media hype, all this prep for this in the near future. I'll be breaking that down coming up after Luke-Rudowski leaves us. But I wanted to get Luke on because last week he got into the Stephen Colbert report. And he stood up in the crowd and talked to him about the New World Order, and Colbert thought he was talking about Bohemian Grove, which is one of the secret societies, but more of their party arm. And he said, no Bilderberg group. And then when Colbert went live, he talked about it. But that's just one of the reasons we have Luke on today. So much is happening. The momentum is intensifying for liberty and freedom. The awakening is accelerating. Greece, Iceland, and others are saying no to the banker takeovers. And that's why we know they're going to stage terror attacks, possibly even nuclear, as a pretext to bring in total police state control. And that's why this NLE 010, 2010 FEMA document is so important. Luke, your take on false flag terrorism on the 15th anniversary of Oklahoma City.
I mean, it's been something that governments have been doing throughout history. It wouldn't surprise us if they would use it against people who are demanding righteousness and truth from our government and accountability. So we have to keep an eye on provocateurs. We have to keep an eye on all these false flags that are going on. At the same time, we have to resend our message saying we are against, violence, against provocateurs, and expose false flag attacks, because as soon as we expose 9/11, Oklahoma City, and the 93 World Trade Center bombings, the less likely chances there is of another false flag. The more we expose 9/11, the more chances we have of saving this republic and stopping another false flag from happening.
Well, I mean, let's talk about just We Are Change that you founded 2.5 years ago, hundreds of chapters around the world, because it is decentralized. It's just an idea. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be nonviolent. Absolutely. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they attack you, then you win. But Luke, look at the false flags you've been through. In Truth Rising, we have the video of New York City police when you're protesting. We're losing your, we lost audio with Luke because everybody has to do these interviews on cell phones. He just came out of his college class. Luke is there, and the police come over, and they're protesting peacefully and legally, and they say, you've got a bomb in your bag. They say, your camera is a gun. We know you don't have a bomb, but we're going to frame you. And they do this on video. And then we had the German Talus, this was in the New York Post and all over Fox News. A man comes out of a dark corner, an alley, with his daughter in a wheelchair, ramming it into Mr. Talus, saying, don't attack her, don't attack her. They arrest Mr. Talus. They throw the book at him, try to get him to plea bargain. But then it came out that it was all staged in court, and the New York Post had to retract. So if they're going into tea parties dressed up like Nazis to discredit us, or anybody that wants to audit the Fed, if they're provocateuring and trying to say you have bombs, I mean, this is what they do on the local scale. But think about the international scale, Luke-Rudowski.
Yes, they definitely are doing false flag attacks. They've been doing it throughout history. But we have to expose 9/11, Oklahoma City, the 93 World Trade Center bombings, to tell everybody that these are false flags. And the more we expose false flags, the less likelihood of another false flag happening here in America is going to happen. And we have to reiterate, we are peaceful, nonviolent protesters willing to fight for sovereignty, liberty, and freedom. There's no reason we should be become what the government is, and that's violent. And we are here standing up for what's really right in this country and making a stand to save this republic.
Separately, the Southern Poverty Law Center, who was running Elohim City that McVeigh was at, that's come out in federal documents, they are listing you and I in their most wanted list. And the headline for me is Telling Tall Tales, Alex Jones, 36, he's out to save the world. I'm telling tall tales. I read the New York Times when they indict Goldman Sachs. And then it says, the Patriot journalist, Luke-Rudowski, 23, and they've got us in here as these deadly, dangerous demons.
Yeah, they call us right-wingers, but we're not right at all. I don't even understand why Glenn Beck was in there when Glenn Beck is pretty much a spokesperson for the establishment, only doing it for, his money. And we're out here fighting for freedom, liberty, sovereignty, and we're doing what the founding fathers did in this country, and they're calling us extremists, enablers. I mean, we are here fighting for freedom. We are here standing up, and to have them attack us, it just shows how desperate they are to describe real dissenters, real patriots as these terrorists. The next thing that's going to probably come is a terrorist watch list if we're not already on it.
All right, let's shift gears now into Colbert. This is an example of how anybody can go to Bill Maher's TV show or Colbert's show or David Letterman's show or anywhere where there's media cameras, when NBC's live on the streets, whatever, and reach out to millions of people. Tell folks what happened with Stephen Colbert.
I mean, we went to the show before, and he does a little question and answer. So, I had my hand up. I talked to him. And the video that you guys see on YouTube is actually half of the conversation. They wouldn't let us film, so we filmed as much as we could of the conversation. We talked to him. And I'm telling you, I talked to other people in the mainstream media. I mean, chief editors of the New York Times, Brian Williams, Lou Dobbs, Paul Zahn, and so on and so on. And whenever we bring up Bilderberg, they hide and they run away from it. But Stephen, he said, yeah, he knows about it. He actually even talks about the Bohemian Grove, how billionaires, run around naked and worship stone owls. He even talked about that with us. And then he actually shouted out. When's the last time somebody in mainstream media ever brought up the Bilderberg group? Well, he did it just a couple days ago to millions and millions of viewers. Many people who never heard of the subject will look it up, will Google it. It's a huge success for the InfoWar. And it's amazing seeing somebody from the mainstream actually get it and actually know what's going on and actually mention it on his TV show, because the issues we're talking about is serious. You get harassed, I get harassed, and all these other journalists who have the cojones to actually go after and talk about these elites. We are targeted. We are harassed. And to have somebody like Stephen Colbert just send out that message to millions of people, it's an amazing thing.
Well, let's be clear. Just 10 years ago, the news would write headlines saying it's a conspiracy theory, Bilderberg doesn't exist. Now, Financial Times of London, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, BBC, hundreds of publications a month say, yeah, world government's real. It needs to be authoritarian to save the planet, and we have been building it in secret, and it's a good thing. So they've gone from denying it existed to saying, yeah, it exists, but it's tyrannical for your own good. But then separately, the ADL and Southern Poverty Law Center will write articles saying you're dangerous and violent when you've never said that, just because you're saying, I don't want to be a global corporate slave.
We're standing up for humanity right now. And how the Southern Poverty Law Center point their fingers at us. It just shows, one, that we're doing something right. Two, they're getting desperate. It's not going to work. We just have to stand for what's right, educate the people about false flags, educate the people about these secret societies that rule our lives in secret, that we as the people of this country, the people of this world even, deserve to know everything these people do. Everything described in the Invisible Empire, these people are responsible for, and we have to put a stop to it if you want to save this country.
Absolutely, and I say this a lot, and I'll say it again. The denial is over. I'm here scanning over the Southern Poverty Law Center article demonizing us and others, and they just keep saying we're kooks that believe in a world government. World government's being announced everywhere. The banks are robbing everyone. This isn't going to work. When they stage a new Oklahoma City, which clearly they're programming the public, to blame us when it happens. When they stage it, it's not going to go the way it went last time when the feds blew up OKC.